So in this video, we're talking about speed and more specifically, where speed actually comes from. And this one might well surprise you. So let's talk about clubhead speed. Probably we all want more of it. We know that's going to help us hit it further. It's going to give us shorter irons in. It's going to make the game a little bit easier. And we're going to talk in this video about where most of that speed comes from. And like I said right back at the start, I've got a feeling this one will surprise you. We've got TrackMan down here to throw some numbers up, and we're going to give you some drills as we go through this video to help you increase your speed. So just before we get started, drop down into the comments box. Where do you think the speed comes from in a driver swing? Let me know. Legs, hips, torso, arms, hands, feet, ground, wherever it may be, let me know where the most speed comes from. Now we're going to give you some drills on how you can get more speed, but if you want a whole training course, there's one on my website now. Details are down below, clickable link up in the corner. So we're going to start this off by hitting a drive on TrackMan. And just to give you some kind of rough numbers, in terms of club head speed, I would average around about 120, 122, 123 on the golf course. That's probably not far around about tour average. Most amateurs are going to be in the region of 90. Obviously that's a very general rule, but that's around about where they are. So I'm going to hit a drive with my driver, and with any luck, this is going to look like a very bizarre golf swing, because I'm going to attempt, let's tee that a little higher, to use nothing but my hands and my arms, and there will probably be a little bit of shoulder turn as well. But the key thing is here, I'm trying to avoid using any of my legs at all in this backswing. So let's see if we can hit a drive up towards that green. No legs, just hands and arms. Now, safe to say, that wasn't the best drive I've ever hit. It was a little bit off center, and the carry was pretty poor because it was a terrible strike. But the speed, the club head speed, 100.4 miles an hour. So over 100 mile an hour club speed, and I didn't use my legs. Now I need to watch that back, there's probably a little bit of leg action there, but you can see that looked like a pretty awful golf swing because it was just through my hands and arms. So if the average driver swing is under 100 for the amateur game, and that's what we said, you know, what does that prove? Well, that proves that really I can probably get to 100 miles an hour with just my hands and arms. So where is the speed in my golf swing coming from? Well, it's coming from my hands and my arms. So we hear all the time, you know, we've got to use the bigger muscles. We've got to rotate the hips. We've got to use the ground. We've got to rotate the legs. Absolutely we do, because I'm never going to get to 120, 125 without doing those things. But most of the speed in my golf swing comes from my hands and my arms. That's not what we see in the amateur game. Often the hands and the arms aren't as efficient as they could be. And then those golfers who are swinging around about 80, 90 are trying to use the ground and their hips and their rotations and their torso, when the reality is getting some more speed from the hands and arms could help them. So let's go through some of the exercises that you can do to get more speed through your hands and your arms. We have to start with the grip. Lots of that speed comes from how the energy gets from my hands throughout the club head. I want you to absolutely hold the golf club in the base of the fingers. Base of the little finger to midway down the index finger, like you can see there. The fingers wrap round, and then the rest of the hand sits over it. The pad of my hand is on top of the handle. The way that you can test this, hold the forearm. Can you get the club easily up and down to at least horizontally? You should be able to get a little bit further than that. An absolute robber of distance is when the grip gets placed up in the palm of the hand. You can see that's much higher, goes through more the lifeline. When I hold it very much in the palm, I don't have that mobility. You can see that I'm unable to get that club up much higher than this. To create any kind of leverage, it's going to have to come from the elbow, or we're going to start to twist the wrist in different ways. It's just very, very inefficient. So one of the ways that we're really going to make sure we've got plenty of club head speed through the hands and arms is to get the club in the right part of the grip. That's absolutely essential. Doing that allows you to create this angle going back, and then release that angle and then rehinge it on the way through. Absolutely key for creating speed and creating power. Now the next little exercise is all to do with grip pressure. And this is not an easy topic. It's not simply a case of just saying to you, reduce your grip pressure, because that golf club was traveling at 100 miles an hour. When I got up to full speed, that club's traveling at 120 miles an hour. If I hold lightly on that golf club, the club is going to go as far as the ball is going to go spinning down the fairway. I have to hold on to that golf club pretty tightly. 120 miles an hour, got to hold on. So my fingers on both hands are applying a lot of pressure to the golf club to make sure it doesn't go flying down the fairway. What is relaxed, and I like to call the word fluid, is the wrists. That's the key part. I can grip as tightly as I can with that lead hand and still keep my wrists fairly fluid. What we see all too often is as the grip pressure increases, which it will do to keep hold of the golf club, it locks the wrists in place. Now you imagine if I lock my wrists, how much speed I can create with that club, nowhere near as much as if my wrists are fluid. So a great little exercise to understand that will be to take your setup and actually with your fingers apply a fair bit of pressure to the golf club. So I feel like I'm squeezing quite tightly, but as I rotate my body back and through, my wrists are staying fluid, and you can see that there's a little bit of lag, a little bit of delay in that club. As soon as my wrists lock up as I increase pressure, you can almost see that straight away, that looks like there's a lot of tension through here. As I start to relax those wrists, suddenly we start to see that club flowing a little bit more. I've not reduced the pressure through my fingers, I've reduced the tension in my wrists. So placing the club in the right place in the hands, having the wrists fluid, really, really going to help. The final thing is actually just to train and practice generating speed with the hands and the arms. So take a golf club, you can even spin it round to begin with. Great little exercise. Hold this end of the driver, take your setup, and actually don't worry too much about the legs, just try and create as much noise as you can down in this impact area with the grip end of the club. No swing thoughts. I'm not doing anything intentionally. I'm just trying to move that stick effectively around my body and make a big whooshing noise down at impact. Then what we can do, you can spin it round and do the same thing. Grip is placed correctly, wrists are fluid. And you can see that I can generate a real good amount of speed by doing that. So what's common is that we see golfers with too much tension, club in the wrong place in the hands, muscling the grip through like this, having the club head and the grip traveling at the same speed. It's not what we see in the best players. The club head should be traveling a much greater distance than the butt of the club. You can see the butt of the club is hardly moving, yet the club head is moving, you know, we can call that almost some 12, 13, 14, 15 feet almost around my body, but I'm doing that through my hands and my arms and my wrists. Now, this is not how I get you to swing the club. I wouldn't ask you to stand there and lock the legs in place and just use your hands and arms. But if we can get 100 mile an hour speed from the hands and arms and then start to add in what the legs do, suddenly you're opening up the opportunity to swing at 110, 115, 120 if you train correctly. So, let's see if I can increase my club head speed from over 100. So, just using speed from the hands and the arms. I'm going to have to go a little bit right because the green keeper is up there. Let's see if I can get over 100 miles an hour just by using hands and arms. .94. I've lost a bit of speed, but again, still decent. So for many golfers, 94 would be an increase in speed. And again, no legs at all in there. That was just hands and arms. So where does most of the speed come from in your golf swing? It actually comes from the hands and the arms. We can boost that by working the legs, but the key message here is get efficient with your hands and your arms, and you will increase your speed, hit the ball further, have more fun on the golf course. Thanks for watching. Usual stuff is down below, comments box down there, like button, all that kind of stuff. Let me know whether this was an interesting video and whether it helped you. That would really benefit me, and hopefully we'll see you back here again soon for a future video.